Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome to Fantasy Forecast for Tuesday, November 22nd, 2016. I have the scores up here from yesterday's lineups. This is the cash game lineup. It did not do as well, obviously. The only winner I had was my GPP lineup. And there's multiple reasons for this, but the massive blowout and the Pacers just couldn't keep it competitive even till halftime. That's basically when Teague got pulled, so he didn't give us the 30 points that you'd expect to see because they let the bench just run. Harden did fine, but you'd expected a little upside. Richardson was pathetic with his minute run. Durant was on the very low end of his floor. Robinson did fine for a 3,500 value, but it was still just a 5 times. Len was okay, but Thad Young hurt. The Pacer blowout basically just destroyed this lineup in terms of cash. You really don't expect a 40-point destruction, but it could have been foreseen. This is what happens sometimes with fantasy. You lose occasionally, and you accept it, move on, and whatever. Now, my GPP did all right. That one barely won quintuples. Literally the last spot, it turned into a split of $5.62 instead of winning $10 because this was the last paying position. And it was a Wall Teague lineup. I basically did Wall and Whiteside on the corners, spending up because they had high upside, possibilities. And then just filtering the rest of the lineup around. I had to lose Durant because of the dollars, but I had Harden, I had Beal, upside. And then the rest of it was more value. Robinson and Len. I still had Young in this one. Still had Joe Johnson instead of the Richardson. Neither one did that great. So you can see how, how I did a GPP construction and how it just paid out a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and review my cash game lineup for today. We'll go ahead and go through positions like I normally do. We got a little time. And then I'll also explain how I'm going to modify this for a GPP lineup today. And I'll be running it as well. I'm just not going to show all the GPP lineups that I have. And there's a reason for that. Guys, the whole point of a GPP is you want to be the only person at the top. I can't share the lineups with you guys that directly because if I do that, I could never win at the top either. I want you guys to come up with your own lineups, really, just using, the information that I'm throwing out there and others. If you can narrow down your point guard choices to 3 or 4 in a day, same thing with shot guard, small forward, power forward, and center, and you've only got 3 choices for your center and, 4 choices everywhere else. That's why pros do so well, and they can basically put together every single combination they want into 150 lineups. Once they filter down their player ranges to just that many, it's possible to do. You can literally select every single combination. All right, today's cash lineup. You're going to have Westbrook against the Lakers. It's a 221 over-under on the game. I don't see how you can't take him. I just don't see how you can't in a cash game. The ownership is going to be sky high. I would assume it'll be high in GPPs as well, although some people may fade in GPPs knowing that everyone's going to take him. But in a cash game, you have to have him. The guy is just likely to give you 60 points to start your lineup at any single night, and it's a guaranteed 5x almost. Guaranteed meaning, it's 5 points below that, 5 points above that, 55 to 65 point range. He's not streaky. Davis is a streaky player. I'm going to put him into the GPP lineup for later, but for cash, it's Westbrook today. So Westbrook in the point guard. And your other point guard position is slightly flexible here. You can move around it however you want. I'm going to take Derrick Rose here to comfortably hit 30 fantasy points a day and, slightly exceed a 5 times value. I think the matchup with Portland will be just fine. Lillard isn't known for his defense, and I kind of see that they'll probably pair off against each other. So if that's the way it really does go out, it's just going to be a fine play for Rose today, and I see him kind of ceiling around 32, 35. Again, this is a more steady play. Rose is most likely going to give me 25 points for sure, and, right around 30, 35. He doesn't have a flashy upside to 50 anymore, guys, but I'm not trying to be flashy with this lineup. I'm trying to get that solid 300. Same thing with Depot today. I'm going to have exposure to that OKC Laker game. It's the last game on the play, and I know you guys like to have them so your scores can go up. I don't play regard to that. I just try to pick the best players in the positions there are. If D'Angelo Russell is out, Lou Williams and Nick Young are going to be good beneficiaries in terms of a few extra minutes. Clarkson as well, but I don't like what he does with his minutes in terms of his price. So I'd be looking at, Well, let's go back to the positions again. So I didn't do point guard. Who else do we have at point guard today? Okay, so yeah, we got Lillard, but you're dropping down a long ways already. Lillard's a tournament option. I'm not going to deny that. Jay Holiday's a tournament option at his price. I don't like the matchup against Atlanta as much. D'Angelo Russell is most likely going to sit out this one, guys, so I would be avoiding him today and looking at the Laker value. I know you're not going to get the news before lock, so this is going to be one of those guesstimates where I'm telling you he's probably going to be out. And if he's not, it's a reason why you probably don't want to take a scrub unless it's on the GPP. I mean, you'll notice I still have guys from the Lakers on this lineup that are, solid. Nick Young will still see 20, 25 minutes and has a chance to meet his value. So I'm not going to kill myself on a cash lineup that way. If you don't know the news for sure, it's just an extra bump if you get it. You can still have to be comfortable running it. So that's why I'm taking Young today on the doubtful news. I'm going to play that he's out, but just in case he's in, I'm still cognizant of who I'm taking. Avoid him just in general, unless you're really looking for a tournament spot and you want to ride that doubtful into he's playing. That could be really interesting against Russell Westbrook, but his ownership is going to be sky high down in the gutter. Russell will probably have 3% ownership today. Anyways, Mutier is a really up and down choice. I like him in GPPs. Rondo as well against Denver. Schroeder, maybe. I'm worried a bit about a blowout risk there in New Orleans that, Davis won't be enough to overcome, but as long as they can keep up, I like Schroeder and Frazier in both. There's good tournament options for your second point guard if you're locking in Westbrook, as I am on a cash game. On a tournament, you can definitely just fade Westbrook and go with, both, or two different point guards and spend up everywhere else. That is a valid tournament strategy today. I'm not going to. I think the tournament strategy is elsewhere. Okay, that's the point guard position. I love McCollum today against New York. They just give up fantasy points to the shot guard position. McCollum's a great play. I like Depot in that fast-paced game. I like D-Wade as well. D-Wade does not look like he's in a bad spot today. But I definitely like Lou Williams and Nick Young. They seem to be like good beneficiaries if D'Angelo Russell sits, and I'm kind of thinking that's more likely than not today at this moment. We got Clarkson. That's a tournament option. And then going down, there's a lot of guys that are tournament options. You think about it, all these guys see 20, 25 minutes and they're more shot dependent. So, something like that could happen. It could be like an Etuan Moore, just gets hot for some reason. Corver gets hot. Lee gets hot. Any of those guys in particular could be just shots in the dark that end up paying 30 points today. Any one of them. You never know. Is it likely? Not really, but in the small forward, Butler's secure today. He's going to give you 40 fantasy points, maybe even 45 against Denver. So you can take it, and he's not, his stinker will be 35, so it's probably going to hold up pretty solid for a cash game. It's expensive to pay 86 for 35 points, but you figure he's going to give you 40, 45 today. So he does have upside to 50, which is nice. We got Bazemore. Maybe Gallinari up there above. I don't know about Wilson Chandler. I don't think they're really giving him enough minute run yet. Carmelo is always a consideration, but his production just seems so far off the levels that we remember of a couple years back. I think that's the function of how the Knicks are running more than him, but age always has its virtues and it has its detriments. Okay, Luol Deng is a possibility today. You never know. Any real Lakers player could possibly come out of the ashes and, rise like the Phoenix today. You never know. You could play him instead of Robertson and just watch something happen. Just get exposure to that OKC Lakers game. You're going to need it today. Porzingis and Millsap. There's no question. The power forward position is normally weak. It's actually pretty darn good today. Okay, so Anthony Davis, if you can afford it, darn right, you can definitely take it. And there's something going on over there. Jones might be out, who normally gets like 27 minutes. And if he is, well, Achanka would normally probably get the minutes, and I think he's ready to play. But let's say Ajinka doesn't get to play because he was probable on Saturday for the last game, and he's still showing up as probable or questionable for this one. So if he doesn't play, and both those guys, big men, are, well, then you got something really big going on, because Davis is the last big man there is. I mean, he'll play 36 minutes, 37 minutes on the court for sure, even in blowout terms, because they'll have to just stop. They need something to act like some kind of big man in defense, and it could get real ugly, though, if that happens. I don't like seeing him run for 35, 36 minutes when they're going to lose, if that's the way that game ends up turning in the third quarter, but I don't see that New Orleans will have much choice if they start to drop bodies like that fast, so we shall see. Anyways, follow that carefully. Let's see. But Porzingis, just beautiful spot against Portland today, and it just, with Joakim Noah out too, he's going to be a beneficiary picking up an increased offensive load. Just go ahead and just take it. Be happy with it. On the side note, besides Porzingis and Millsap is beautiful against the Pelicans. That's another great spot for, giving up fantasy points to opposing power forwards. But besides those two spotters, Randall played well when they went against OKC the last time. I believe he was the top scorer and, stats guy for the Lakers, put up about 35 or 40 fantasy points. So you can always be looking at Randall as a GPP play. Yeah, there's your Jones with a game time decision. But I mean, I'd be looking at Davis if Jones ends up sitting, and it sure looks like he's going to. What was the news on that again? Questionable for illness. I mean, you guys have been sick. Unless it's the stomach flu and you puke it out and you're done, he ain't going to play. They're going to rest him up and let him get a night off, and because you don't need someone trying to. If you got 103 fever, you can't play ball. Well, unless you're Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. Anyways, on to the center position day. Robin Lopez. I liked him before the news that Joakim Noah was going to be out. Now I love him all across the board today. I mean, really? You guys got to be kidding me. So they lose their main guy over there that would be the body to kind of stop Rolo, basically. And at the same time, he's a guy that picks up boards, too. Denver normally picks up, they normally pick up a decent amount of their rebounds. They're not going to this time, I would think, because with Noah out, it's going to throw their rotation off, and Rolo is going to be there to just soak them up. The guy loves boards. He's not a Drummond or anything, but I mean, I think we're in line for another dozen boards tonight on top of his scoring. So, I mean, this is just a solid pick to, build a lineup. It's not super cheap at minimum, but it's there. Your other options, look at all three in the 4,900 range. You got Adams and Nurkic, Adams against the Lakers, and the last time he played, he had a baller line of 40 fantasy points. I don't think you should expect him to repeat, but he could certainly do up another 30, 28. Nurkic against Chicago, why the guy couldn't put up 28, well, I can't say no, but I just think there's a better option with Rolo. I think you're pretty much guaranteeing yourself 30 points a day, and you might as well just take it, especially in a cash game. The bottom there, you got Ajinka. Now, Ajinka, if he ends up playing and before the locks, and he'll end up seeing a lot of minutes. Now, I don't know if he'll be able to do anything with the minutes, but at bare minimum prices, you'd have an extra $1,400 to spend this lineup up somewhere else, and that's certainly a possibility as well. I will tweet a lineup change if, that happens today. It's a short slate, there's only 4 games, so I kind of think that it's going to be really easy to keep on top of today. Except for the Lakers news, we're not going to get that. We're just going to be basically guessing. Let's cancel this out. All right, so today's cash lineup. And then I'm going to show you guys real fast the way I'm going to modify this for the GPP. Cash lineup for today, Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose at the point guard positions. At the shot guard, Depot and Nick Young. At the small forward, Butler and Robertson. At the small forward, Porzingis and Millsap. And your center today is Rolo. All right, that is your cash game lineup. Now, modifying for GPP, this is exactly what I'm going to do for one lineup. I'm going to make the edits live. You'll see them. Derrick Rose is just a way to spend up. I'm going to go to Tim Frazier. I'm going to take the secondary option for New Orleans because people will be thinking Anthony Davis today. People won't be thinking Tim Frazier today, especially, But Tim Frazier is still seeing minutes even with J. Rue Holiday coming back, which is what? Yeah, he's taking them from Buddy Hield, basically. So, I mean, Buddy Hield, their number 6 draft pick rookie, has gone to basically 6 or 7 minutes a game, which is pretty pathetic. But, hey, if they're going to give Tim Frazier a run, I'm gonna play Tim Frazier. The guy bulbed like 35 fantasy points last night. He's probably gonna be forgotten. That's my first live edit change. Now moving up here, I'm gonna take McCollum. I like the spot against New York, like I was saying, and I think he can ball a little bit more. Just take away Noah from there, you know, and you take away a little bit of defense. And if I'm right about that, and it does throw their rotations off a bit, McCollum could benefit and show upside to 6 times today, which is just what you need to just make this GPP better. So I'll take McCollum, and then because people are going to be on the Lakers today, they're going to know about this absence and everything ahead of time. I'm going to take Courtney Lee. Now, why Courtney Lee? Because I think people are just going to forget about him today, and he still has a decent enough minute run where he can pay off value at a $3,700 price. All you need is 18.5 points. He can certainly put up 22. Actually, he can put up 30, but you know, I am looking for ceiling upside here. Now, Butler, yeah, but everyone knows about Butler, and we're already losing some money, and so you're going to see a fun change here. We're going to go to Bazemore. Why Bazemore against New Orleans? Why not? $4,900 if the guy paid us 40 points? Wow. It's right in the price range and right in the average fantasy scoring where it could possibly happen. So let's see, especially since New Orleans is a little porous on defense. All right. Robertson is going to go to Ingram. Now there's 2 choices here. I would either do Ingram, I would consider Cunningham as well, looking at that Ajinka news later. If that Ajinka news comes out, you know, that he's out as well, I'd probably be playing Cunningham today. I mean, you could look at Omer Asik, but I'd be playing Cunningham. So I'll probably swap him if that does come out that both Ajinka is out and Jones are out for the New Orleans games. And, you know, my GPP will end up showing, instead of Ingram, I'll show Cunningham, just because the value will be there. And like I've said before, you need to lock in those value picks. And when they end up showing up at like 51% owned, you don't want to be left behind on the sidelines. Ingram will not be today. He'll be forgotten because he's very small and kind of back on the list, but he sees enough minutes on the court where if he got hot for any reason whatsoever, he'll pay off more than sufficient for value. And as long as they're missing a guy that's got 30 minutes, this is a guy that could be a peripheral pickup for an extra 5 or 6 minutes of court time. Now, if he can do anything with it, because he hasn't really shown a lot of upside before in terms of that, that's the sad thing. But it would probably pay enough today for a GPP lineup where you could just move forward and be happy. And if you got 22 points out of it and to build the rest of your lineup around it, you'd be just fine. Cunningham will solidify that if that what comes through. But otherwise, I'll take Ingram today. And you can already see where this is going, I believe. Because if you haven't seen where this is going, then you're probably all right. So Porzingis and Millsap, yeah, everyone's going to know about them, but I want to stack. So I'm going to take Randall, and I'm going to take Anthony Davis. So I'm going to take Randall, who had that good game against OKC. I'm going to take Ingram. I'm going to basically stack up a couple Lakers. I'm going to get Anthony Davis in there. I'm going to have Russell Westbrook, and I'll have Davis stacked in with Frazier. This is how I built a GPP. Okay? So your GPP lineup for today. Review it again. Westbrook, Frazier, McCollum and Lee at the shot guard, Bazemore and Ingram at the small forward, Randall and Davis at the power forward, and this is interesting, at Rolo for your center, since everyone's going to have him, you might want to pivot off. So why not go with Adams, right? Really stack up that game. Okay? Adams for your center. That is your GPP lineup for today. And your cash lineup for today is Westbrook and Rose, Depot and Young at the shot guard, Butler and Robertson at the small forward, Porzingis and Millsap at the power forward, and Rolo for your center. Thank you so much for watching Fantasy Forecast for today. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. It's helped support this free channel. I really appreciate it. Leave comments. If you've won money, leave a thumbs up on the lineup. If you don't like the lineup, thumb it down, or, drop a comment below. I try to answer everything, and our community also is good with, dropping injuries and giving up news as well. So, and I appreciate that, and I encourage it, and I try to, actively, go in there and participate so that everyone knows that I'm paying attention to you guys, and I do care. If you have questions, feel free to ask me, comment it, or drop me a tweet if you want. Twitter description, or link to Twitter's in the description on this video, and enjoy. That's about it for Fantasy Forecast for today, guys. Go on out there and go win some big money, GPP and cash.